Welcome back to Paradise, Louisiana. And Gary, in keeping with our Get Ready for Back to School trip, this week we had a very special guest, a young man who's getting ready to go back to school. His dad, Sergeant Rob Gibbs, who is overseas right now, wanted him to get out and get a fishing trip in, and Captain Mike Gallo and I made it happen for him this week. Kendal Gibbs is his name. He's a student over there in North Shore. His grandfather and I were good friends. That was Coach K.D. Gibbs from Mandeville High School. And we decided to take him out to the Biloxi Marsh and get a little red fishing in. Not because that was what we specifically set out to do, but, you know, we've had this west wind, and it's still continuing. It's been just a real strange phenomenon this summer that we've had so much west wind. We had really hoped to get into Lake Bourne, hit some of those platforms with some live shrimp, and catch some speckled trout. West wind was not going to let that happen. But when you can get into that Biloxi Marsh, there's always some calm, clear water in there, and there's usually a load of redfish, and there was no exception. Went in there with the young Kendal, myself, Mike Gibbs, and also Christian from Cito came along, and we kind of formed some teams. It was me and Mike against Christian and Kendal, and we had a pretty good time out there. We were using a couple of different things, and mostly we were just using dead shrimp under a popping cork. Easiest thing to do, particularly when you got those wind-driven waves. It's hard to spot the redfish. You really can't sight cast to them because you might see a little bit of bait movement. Every once in a while you'd see a fin, but for the most part it was blind casting. And the most way to do that is just take a jig head, dead shrimp, and throw it out there. Although spinnerbaits, spoons, that chatterbait is really a strong coming on bait for catching redfish now because it's got so much vibration in it. But Kendal had a great time. Mike had a great time. I had a great time, and so did Christian. It was a lot of fun getting out there. It was a hot day, but because of that westerly breeze, kind of cooled us off. And you'll see the redfish. We kind of stacked them up in there.
A good deal. Let's go see it because...
Here we go. And Mike's got some tips for you, too, for fishing in that Biloxi Marsh as we head into the dog days of summer and the kids are getting ready to go back to school.
That's what we call a jumper.
Jump right in the boat.
Jump in the boat. Well, obviously we're in the marsh, and we try to position the boat where you can fish with the wind. It's just too difficult to try to cast against the wind on a consistent basis. And we're fishing in these duck ponds. We're looking for clean water, a lot of bait fish activity. Dead shrimp under a cork is bulletproof. I mean, it just really works. He's orange.
Okay, I'll get this one in the back here.
Thank you, sir.
Wind conditions, it would make it difficult to use the trolling motor and stay in correct position to assist the fishermen casting into the strike zone. So just anchor and give it the 10-minute rule and move on. In 10 minutes, if you don't catch a fish, you catch them, stay until they play out. That redfish won the high jump when he was in school. I unspotted this one. The lead is getting bigger. The redfish will be in the marsh until they obtain 27 inches in length when they become mature enough to spawn, and they'll migrate out to open water. So it's kind of like high school. When the seniors leave, you have more freshmen come in, and they stay in the marsh 4 to 5 years before they reach maturity and move out. So you constantly have the slot-sized redfish in the marsh. And fortunately, we still have some good marsh to fish, and we're going to take advantage of it as best we can. I like to be within 2 feet of the shoreline, and that's one of the things about positioning the boat where you're casting with the wind. If you happen to cast 3 feet from the shoreline, just leave some slack. The wind will blow you into the strike zone, where obviously casting against the wind, that would totally not work for you at all. So we look for the cuts and points and activity where the bait is, and when we see the nervous water, of course, that's an indication of predators. So we want to concentrate on those areas. And the windy shoreline was good today in these pockets. Oh, he's getting some camera time.
Twin.
To go trying to get my clientele to cast as close to the grass as possible. You know, it's a fine line, and the higher the water is, the closer you need to be to the grass. So a lot of times we would end up snagging and popping our lines, and it's frustrating. And the customer doesn't want to lose lose my tackle, so he stops casting as close as he needs to be, and then by not being in the strike zone, he's not catching fish. So for some reason, I thought the circle hooks would be helpful. You can cast them in the grass and pull them out, drop them right next to the shoreline. The only difference, obviously, when they bite, you don't have to set the hook. Let him have it a few seconds and just start reeling. It'll hook him right in the corner of the mouth.
About here. He's about there.
Oh, he's big.
All right, so it looks like time is running out if you're going to be taking the kids out on a weekday fishing trip, because school is almost in session. Fish school, that is.
We have Kendal Gibbs with us today, whose father is overseas protecting our country, and it was an honor to bring Kendal with us and share a good time with him on the water. No, Kendal does a good job. He's done some fishing in the past. His dad's got him well on his way to being a good fisherman. Uh-oh, I left line in the
Oh, he's trying anything he can do to get us, Kendal. We got him. There we go.
All right.
Good job, buddy.
On my website, we have special discounts for service people as well as seniors, and we want to take everybody fishing a good time. Kendal's dad reached out to you, and you recommended me, and here we are. So it works fine. It was great. I was happy to bring him, happy to do it.
All right.
Did I get extra for pretty?
Kendal's the one that's going to go home with good memories of the trip that he had. And, of course, we'll have good memories of having a good time with Kendal. That's one of the reasons why we try to fish the style that we did today to assist him in having a productive trip. The circle hooks, I think he's a believer in circle hooks now. They really have a good place out in the marsh. They work very well.
So you just got a few weekdays left to take the kids out before school starts. Get you some popping corks, some dead shrimp, follow Captain Mike's advice, and you'll catch some of these. Kendal, any advice for Sergeant Dad overseas via the internet?
Yeah, Dad, come home early so he can teach you how to catch some of these.
Ask me about